Shalom, it's Rabbi David Barron with my weekly Torah talk here from our Temple of the Arts beautiful home, the Saban Theater in Beverly Hills. And I'd like to invite you to a few special events coming up in February. February 10th in our Rotunda, an intimate Shabbat gathering and service. That's at 8 p.m. It's free and open to everyone. On February 24th, we'll be holding a Shabbat dinner, service, and mini concert at Brentwood Country Club. Since that's a dinner, a reservation is required. Call our temple office, 323-658-9100, for more information and to make a reservation. And we hope you can join us. And of course, if you can't, check our website, templeofthearts.org, for highlights of all the events that we'll be holding and highlights of services as well. And we invite you to share that with family and friends and all your dear ones, and this Torah talk as well. So in this week's Torah portion, we have a description of commandments actually requiring the children of Israel to tell their children and teach their children the importance of the value of freedom. You know, that can be so easily forgotten when we're 2 or 3 or 4 generations away from an episode of slavery or confinement or oppression. But it's so important. We see that in some of the immigrants to our country from other countries where they were severely oppressed politically, spiritually, religiously, or even in terms of their basic freedoms of speech. And that's why they hungered to come to America, a land of freedom. So we have to make sure that we effectively communicate that lesson. And in psychology, there's something called the protege effect. The protege effect is where the learner takes on the role of the teacher. And what psychologists have found is that when someone anxious to teach a lesson to someone studies it deeply, they connect and communicate more effectively. So if you're interested in teaching or conveying something to someone else, a child, a grandchild, a friend, a neighbor, you have to invest the time and energy to probe it more deeply and be willing to take on that role of teacher. You know, the Hebrew word rabbi means teacher, and ultimately that's what a rabbi does. He teaches the lessons and attempts to inspire people. In fact, one of the great quotes about conveying a message is, people might not remember what you said, and they might not remember how you said it, but they'll always remember the way you make them feel. And so when we probe into this experience of slavery and confinement, it's so important that we take on the role of teacher, not just learner, but teacher, to convey the message effectively. And what are we trying to convey? We're trying to convey a set of values, that every human being has dignity, that we believe in the worth of each and every human being. You know, the great struggle in ancient Egypt were 2 Weltanschauungs, 2 worldviews. The Egyptian worldview was that Pharaoh was at the top and his courtiers beneath him. But essentially, Pharaoh was the ruler, and everything was subservient to the Pharaoh. And human life was unimportant, especially the lives of slaves. And in the case of the Jewish worldview, it was totally different. Every human being was precious in the eyes of God. And so the value and dignity of worth of every human being is critical for us to convey. The late Rabbi Jonathan Sacks had a wonderful quote. He said, Moses realized that a people who achieves and desires to achieve immortality, they do so not by building edifices, not by building temples or mausoleums or museums, but they do so by engraving their values on the hearts of their children, and I'd add the people they encounter on life's journey. It's how you make that impact, that imprint. In fact, the Hebrew word for freedom is cherut, and the word cherut also means carved or engraved. The values and beliefs and experiences have to be engraved, imprinted on our consciousness, engraved in our hearts. And I think if we take that message to heart, adopt the protege effect, don't just be a learner, also try to become a teacher and convey the message clearly, it will live for eternity. I hope we take that message to heart, and I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.